I am here doing an interview with the owner of Duggins Gym in Bossier City, Louisiana. And why don't you introduce yourself and tell us who you are?
Okay, so my name is Chase Duggins, and I've been in the fitness industry for about almost 20 years. Personal trained for the last 12 or so years, and I just bought this gym about 8 months ago.
Rewind way back to the beginning. So
Okay.
What started your fitness journey?
So my dad got me and my brother in the gym when I was like 13. My brother was like 15. My brother already had his license at 15. So my dad was like, he was already working out at the gym, and it was one of the bigger gyms in town. And so he's like, you want me to get y'all a gym membership for the summer? Me and my brother were real skinny, and so we kind of were like almost a little scared to go in there because there's some big guys in that gym. And so anyway, we started working out that summer, and me and my brother, we'd go like 3 days a week, and that's kind of where it started. So I started young, and then of course playing football in high school and stuff, we worked out, and then that's really where it started. And then I really got serious into the bodybuilding part of it at probably 18, 19, when I got out of high school. I played football and basketball. Football was my main sport, and I went through this growth spurt. My freshman year, I was probably, I don't know, I may have been 5'8". By my sophomore year, I'm like 6'2". And next thing you know, I'm 6'4", and then, grew up, almost 6'5". And so high school it was tough because I went through such a growing stage, and my back was always hurting. And then going into my sophomore year, I tore my hamstring. And so that was like during 2-a-days before the season even started. So I tore my hamstring. That put me out the whole season. And then junior year, I went from I played receiver, and then they switched me to DN. And so I spent my whole junior year just basically, I barely got on the field my junior year, learning a new position. And then I started my senior year. But, I played 5A football, here in Louisiana. And I mean, we got some of the best athletes in the country. And I'm going against guys that are 250 pounds, 300 plus pounds at 175 pounds.
Okay.
So I was tough, but I wasn't heavy enough. And I really didn't learn about trying to really put on size and muscle until I got out of high school.
Okay.
Which it was too late for football. And then, of course, Arnold Schwarzenegger, that was kind of somebody that I really looked up to. I mean, he was the big action star when I was a kid.
Right.
So I really just became obsessed with it, and 18, 19 years old, and reading the magazines. And I went from, senior year, I was 175 pounds. By the time I was 22, I was like 250 pounds. I got up to 260. I went up to almost 300 pounds at one time before my first competition. But like I say, it really wasn't even about competing. I just wanted to be big and strong.
Okay.
So that was the main motivation for me,
Okay, so I like that. So you got into training really just to kind of better yourself. So what was the flip from working on yourself to wanting to help others do the same?
Right. Well, so I spent so much time at the gym. My dad come on one day, and he was like, if you're going to spend so much time being at the gym, you need to learn how to make some money while you're there. So that's kind of how and then I was working job to job, and I never really knew what I wanted to do. And I said, okay, well, I'm pretty good at going to the gym and building muscle, whatever. And I really love it. So I got certified. And then when I first started, I went all around town trying to get a job, training, get in a gym somewhere, and nobody really would fool with me. So my brother was living in Houston. My brother works for a big elevator company. So he was over there He ended up being over there about 10 years, but I moved to Houston, got a job at a big Lifetime Fitness over there training, which it was really competitive. They probably had 20 plus trainers. And the way this gym was, the guy that actually was over the trainers, he kind of hand selected his trainers. He wanted trainers that really looked like, like they really were, like they actually really worked out or either really athletic or whatever. So they had girls that were like college track athletes. They had football, college, players. Some of the guys were like really good bodybuilders. So it was a pretty good environment. It was really competitive. So I was there for a short time, but I learned a lot while I was there. Then I came back home. And I think that gave me a big advantage being in the bigger city, kind of in that corporate setting, and then coming back here, and I used a lot of that. And I always tell people, Louisiana it's one of the most obese states in the country, and if you don't absolutely love fitness and passionate about not just training people but actually helping people, if you don't love that, you're not going to make it.
Right.
You're just not going to make it. And so
is there anything, like I say, you've had the gym for 8 months and
Yeah.
you've done, worked 4 locations, and I'm guessing you were doing some things on your own as well?
So I worked when I first started, when I was in Houston, I worked for that gym. But when I came back home, I was just like a contract worker in a gym. So, I take that back. When I came back, I worked for Drew LeBlanc, guy that he was a big bodybuilder in town, and he had a gym, kind of a smaller gym, and I worked for him. And then I started training clients, and then from like about 26 or 27, I was pretty much self-employed doing my own thing. But I worked in gyms, and I just paid a trainer fee to be there, and that's that's how I did it.
Okay. What's the biggest thing that you learned from other places that you work for that you took away now?
Well, I was lucky enough Drew was a big mentor and very close to him, and he had been in the business. Drew's probably early 60s or so now, and he'd been in the business since he was like 22, 23 years old. And Drew was a competitive bodybuilder, and like I say, worked in the business, worked in several gyms. I kind of took different things from him. Drew was a great salesperson, so I got a lot of the sales from him. And he's a hard worker. Me and him actually, when he went into his gym, he had a smaller gym, and then he moved across the street into a bigger gym. And I would work sometimes 13, 14-hour days. I helped him actually remodel the place. And so, he's a hard worker. He was really good at sales, and he knew nutrition, he knew bodybuilding. So it was kind of well-rounded. And then I was with another guy, kind of under him, Manny, when I moved to Bossier. And Manny was from Florida. And he'd worked a lot in the corporate setting, and so great at sales, great attitude. Like I say, he was a great mentor too. And when I actually went and started working at this gym, I just kind of treated. Manny was like half my size. We were like from two opposite sides of the world. It's like, he was more just a fitness guy, and then I was, when I walked in there, I probably was 260 at the time, 6'4", and I'm like, he called me Drago when he first saw me, and of course I was quite a bit younger then, but I kind of almost treated Manny like my sensei. He just said, man, if you'll listen to me and do kind of what I tell you to do. And I did. And I ended up, before you know it, I had 20 plus clients. I bought my house, out here in North Bossier, close to the gym. And that's when my career really kind of blossomed.
It's really good that you said that you learned, the business, because yes, fitness, you can enjoy fitness all day, but if you don't focus on the business stuff, you're out of business and you can't do the things that you're trying to do. So on that note, how does this gym differ from a typical fitness facility?
This gym is it's like no other gym that I've been in gyms that are similar to this gym, but they've been when I've been out of town. But this gym's been here like 30 years, and Ken Meeks actually was the original owner. He came in here and bought this old grocery store, and Ken remodeled this place and had it for 3 or 4 years, and then Rick Brown came in and took it over and actually bought the whole shopping center. And I knew Rick since I was a little kid. Rick was like the craziest guy I ever knew. The guy was just, he was just wild. And, he's still, I think Rick's like 53, 54 now. He's calmed down a lot. But, he said that, he told me a long time ago, he said, they would go to these seminars. He said, the fitness business is like the entertainment business. And which, back when he was, back when he was in, it was a different era, the 90s. People could get away with being a lot crazier. And I always say, man, if you were in this day and time, you'd be locked up, man. There's no way you could get away with all that he did. But, this gym I kind of like to say this gym's almost like a gym that's like a Cheers, Most of the people know each other. Some of the members, the older members, they've been here for 30 years. So it's just like a big family, and then even when our new members come in within, some of them within a couple months, it's like they were always here. And, it is kind of an old school type gym. It's you can come in here and power lift, bodybuild, but it's also a gym for everyone, But the atmosphere is unmatched. There's no gym in town in this area. I've had people come in this gym from all over the country, and they're like, this is their favorite gym. So it's just very nostalgic. It's got the high ceilings, the old building. I compare it almost to like a New Orleans style. When you go to New Orleans and you want to stay in those old hotels, but they've kind of modernized, there's nothing like it. You can't redo it. And so that's that I think that has a lot to do with what makes this place so special,
You mentioned that this is a place for everybody, but you have competed in the bodybuilding world.
Yeah.
You've been on stage, you've competed. And that's not everybody's fitness journey.
No.
So how, because this is a gym for everybody, how do you use your competitive life to help that for both the competitors and for people that don't want to compete or don't plan to compete?
Yeah. I mean, you just have to be, you got to realize, like you said, not everybody's there's such a small percentage of people that actually compete. It might be 1% of the population. People who get into competing, they kind of get in this world and they think it's bigger than what it really is. And compared to the rest of the population, it's really not. So I don't know. I guess I kind of had an understanding of that, way back because I started working out. I worked out 12 years hard before I ever stepped on a stage. I didn't compete until I was like 30. So I started working with people. If you think that you're going to be a trainer and you're just going to work with competitors, unless you're in an area that it's like real dense, it's like a big, big city and it's got a lot of bodybuilders, it's very rare. So to make it as a trainer, and to me, if you really want to be a trainer and you really want to help people, you should want to help people that, they may be 100 pounds overweight, where those people really need the help more so than this bodybuilder. And some people, like I say, they that's what they specialize in is training with training the competitors. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I really kind of tend to help the people that are not competitors, you know.
Well,
So, and I mean, as far as using, I really feel like lifting weights is the king. I mean, and they're coming out the woodworks talking about it, how everybody's talking about weight training, weight training, weight training, weight training. And I'm like, I've been talking about this for 20 years. I really just kind of say it just so happens to be that, you know, my dad introduced me and my brother to this at a young age. So I was really kind of like fortunate to have that, you know.
many people, if they're not working for the stage, one of their biggest struggles is with consistency.
Yeah.
So what would you say, well, like, how do you stay motivated, and then how do you instill that in your clients?
Well, it's a big thing that's said now too, is motivation only lasts so long. You know, I heard a bodybuilder, a pro bodybuilder that was big. He was a big name years ago. He said that, you know, when he went to the gym, it really didn't matter what kind of music was on. It didn't matter if it was just your, you know, pop music or whatever. That he just, when he went into the gym, he's like, I have a task to do, and I go in there and I perform that task. And it doesn't really matter if it's, you know, rap music or hard rock music. But a lot of people do use headphones. I don't use them. They just always felt like a distraction to me. But, you know, my point is like, you can get motivated and you can get hyped up off a song, but that's only going to last so long. That may carry you for 3 or 4 or 5 years. I used to watch these videos, these bodybuilding videos, but I don't care who you are. I mean, Arnold Schwarzenegger was absolutely obsessed with bodybuilding, and he became a champion. But eventually you will kind of get burnt out and you want to go to the next thing. Now, he still lifts weights, but he didn't have that same hunger that he had at one time. Of course, he's, you know, well into his 70s. But a lot of people are saying it's habit. It's really habit. So yeah, I'm not competing anymore. And I don't train as hardcore as I once trained. But I still train pretty hard. But I just feel like it's been a habit for so long. It's just like, I know I got to go do this. Just like I'm going to eat my meals and I'm going to brush my teeth and, you know, I'm going to get my workouts in. So it's more building the habits, making that more, pushing that over motivation.
Discipline over motivation.
Yeah, just without a doubt.
How do you help somebody who's never been in a gym before feel comfortable in this environment?
If I was to take a client or somebody to come in here when they first came in and they never worked out before, we just do very little. Especially if they're just really in bad shape or they don't have any strength, just very little. Because if you try to do too much, they'll never come back. Like I never want to take on a client and make them throw up or make them sick or try to prove anything to them. Like I never would do that. So I think to make them feel the most comfortable is you got to bring them in and you got to take baby steps. You may do a little bit of weights and then, hey, we're going to walk on the treadmill for 5 minutes. It really just depends on the person, you know, what their fitness level is. But it's another reason why I'm trying to make the aesthetics of this gym more pleasing and more, you know, especially for the ladies, because when they walk in the door, they want to see, they want to, you know, they like to see stuff that's pretty, that's pleasant, you know. Not to say that I'm gonna go away from it being a hardcore or, you know, a serious gym, but I kind of want the best of both worlds, you know.
You've been in the fitness industry for a long time. Is there one client or one success story that stands out to you? You don't have to share a name, but just what and how.
One of my favorite girls, she lost 100 pounds or right at it, close to it with me. And I always thought it was kind of funny that sometimes I would have these girls working out together, and she was 300 plus pounds, and I'd have some girl that was 130 pounds, and I'd say, "Oh, I'm gonna put y'all together today." And the smaller girl, that was in decent shape, she'd kind of look like, and the big girl would run circles around her. She could work. I mean, the girl was. I love training people like that. They can work hard, because being as competitive as I was, and I'm built more like a basketball player. I'm an ectomorph, which that's when you're just naturally skinny. I'm a hard gainer, so I had to work like hell and eat a lot of food to be able to get to the size that I got. So I love to see people that would train hard, but she was one of my favorite, and like I said, I watched that girl lose, right at 100 pounds.
Somebody is watching this right now and they're maybe hesitant about starting their fitness journey. What is something that you would share with them to make them feel more at ease of taking that first step?
It doesn't really matter where you want to go, wherever you're going to feel the most comfortable, because you may go to a place that's kind of smaller and not that busy and you feel more comfortable. That may be where you start. And then if you want to move to a bigger gym or something that's, a little more hardcore, then you can do that. But I can just tell you that your life's going to be a lot better when you're in shape. And I almost feel sorry for people sometimes when I see them and they're out there running. You can tell it's the first day that it's almost like their first day of their journey, and they're running and they look so miserable. I'm like, you don't have to do that. You can come in the gym and start lifting weights. You don't even have to do crazy stuff. You can go in and use the machines, but you're going to get better results with lifting weights. You don't have to go crazy on your diet, but you want to try to get in, you want to really focus on your protein. But if you do that, you work on high protein and lifting weights, you're going to see results faster than anything else you'll do. And you can work your way up, you don't have to come in and do anything crazy. And then you just build yourself up to a level where then, 2-3 months down the road, what you're doing, that would have killed you if you'd have tried to do it on the first day. So,
I like the sound of that.
Yeah.
I like the sound of that. Yeah. Are there any trends that you have seen that you are either, one, really excited about, or even one that's like, okay, hey, that's overrated. You're not necessarily going to get what you think you are out of that. So something you're either excited about or not so excited about.
There's always different trends. I'll use CrossFit as an example. CrossFit blew up and got super popular. And had I been a little younger and I'd already been in the bodybuilding, I probably would have got into it or tried it out. But it blew up, and then it kind of fizzled out a bit. Now I know it's still pretty popular, but I really think that your everyday person thought that they probably saw it on ESPN or whatever, and they saw these CrossFit games, and they're like, "Oh, I want to look like that." Well, what they don't realize is 2 or 3 days a week at the CrossFit studio is not going to make you look like that. These people are like world-class athletes, and these guys and gals, they train like animals. Some of them train 2-3 times a day. And that's a true sport. Well, that's like I heard with any sport, you're going to have injuries. It's just a part of the game. Well, these people that are just like, say, everyday people, they start going in there. And like I say, it's great for some people and it's a good community. But I heard people saying that their orthopedics were saying that they were keeping them in business, the CrossFit studios, because there were so many people tearing up, rotators and knees. And, I know a guy that comes in here, he just lifted weights and did bodybuilding type movements for 20 something years. And then he goes and gets in a CrossFit both shoulders replaced, and then his neck. So you got to make sure that you're with the right coaches that are almost going to hold you back a bit, because if they don't, you're going to end up getting hurt. Especially if you try to go in, and it's one thing if you're in your 20s, but you go in when you're already in your 30s or 40s.
Right. So is it fair to summarize that by saying that trying to or getting inspired by something that you either see online or seeing people at their best, and even maybe social media or just following?
The internet's it's so much. It's almost too much. People are really when they're starting out, they're confused about what to really do. And then you got so many of these people that are saying that they're doing this, but a lot of times they're really not. They may be saying that I'm doing this, but they're actually doing all this. They may be doing this particular training style, but they're also doing all this bodybuilding type stuff too. It's the same thing with the CrossFit. They're doing all this powerlifting stuff, but they're also doing this bodybuilding type training. It's just so much to that. It's a whole sport. Now, I'll say this. I used to kid and say, if I was going to war or something, or I wanted to go fight a battle like they did back in the day, I'm going to the CrossFit studio, because those guys, they're strong and they have a lot of endurance, and they're more the size for battle,
Right.
But there's a lot of injuries in that. So I know that was a big thing. It blew up, and you don't see as many of those places around like you did. And I feel like the bodybuilding type training is just always going to be, I just think it's the king. Because you can do it, you can start doing it at such a young age, and you can do this stuff till you're 90 years old.
I've seen it.
My son playing football and basketball, the weights, we got him lifting weights in moderation at a pretty young age, and it's helped him tremendously in sports. And there's no getting around. I mean, he's a good athlete, but the weights, really took him to another level.
Tell me about the gym. I mean, obviously you're not even a year in yet, but tell me some things that are coming down the pipe for Duggins Gym.
So it's a family. It's definitely a family business, and I mean it's my gym. But my dad and my girlfriend have gotten involved, and me and my dad and my girlfriend do all the work. Period. I mean, pretty much anything that's been done, other than a few things that we couldn't do. I had one of my buddies that I grew up with as a plumber. He did some of that stuff, but it needed a lot of work. And my dad's been a barber for 50 years, but he's always done stuff on the side, but he's a pretty good carpenter, he's pretty good at a lot of stuff, and so he's done the cabinets, and I've done a lot of painting. My girlfriend took care of a lot of we went in and changed the financial system, the door entry system, got all new cameras, and so she's taking care of a lot of that stuff on the computer side, and even on the marketing and advertising side. She, without them, I couldn't do it. We wouldn't be where we're at. So, and that's why I wanted to be. My dad used to say, "Oh, you need to do Chase Duggins. Everybody knows you Chase Duggins, whatever." And I said, "No, it's be Duggins. Be Duggins." I think Duggins Gym is more marketable. It's kind of like Gold's Gym, but to me, it means like family. It's Duggins Gym. That's the family name. So. And like I told you earlier, I haven't really done much advertising. We'll post a little bit on Facebook or whatever, Instagram, TikTok. But as far as really promoting, we've been so busy, for the last 8 months. I just put my head down, went to work, But I said this, and I thought about this the other day, that I feel like some of my best advertisement has been just word of mouth, and people people getting to see me and my dad, my girlfriend, all working and doing all this stuff, it's kind of rare. You a lot of times you don't get to see a business owner that's actually doing all this. And so I feel like I was lucky that, you know, we took it over and it was already operating, but we got to make it so much better. And when people actually see the owner scrubbing the toilets or scrubbing the showers or mopping the floors or vacuuming or painting or whatever it is we were doing, a lot of times people don't get to see that. So, you know, I think that people just have gone around and talked a lot about that. And I don't know, I think it's something kind of unique, especially nowadays. It's different.
Well, I gotta say, you're doing something right. So
Yeah.
I don't know. You didn't see this earlier, but when I walked in, there was a notebook on the desk, and it had a list of referrals, and that page was full.
Yeah,
the one I was looking at. So you have to be doing something right.
Oh yeah.
If other people are, you know, are saying, "Hey, come to the gym."
Yeah, we got people that came back that wrote this place off years ago, and then, you know, I've noticed there's been some people that have joined here recently that I don't think they typically. I mean, they're driving a little ways. There's gyms that are closer, but I think, but from their friends and stuff bragging and telling them you got to come check it out. Some of those people have come over here that never would have. So. I don't know. I just wanted to get a lot of this stuff that I really wanted to get done, and then I'll start doing some more promoting and marketing, you know. Okay. So it just takes time, you know. You gotta. Right. Sometimes I'm not that patient.
Well, here, I mean, like I said, you've been here for, like I said, it's been almost 8 months. So, but what is something? If I ask you, what are you most proud of so far?
Probably the family, man, you know, just probably a lot of it's like my dad, you know, just being a part of it. So that's, you know, that's probably the biggest part of it, you know, because I always tell people everything that we've done so much, I couldn't do it by myself, you know, and I always get like that with my dad. I don't know why, I just do, but you know, a lot of people are not that fortunate to have their dad, you know. So that's what I would say, you know.
Before we started filming, there was a guy that walked in, and you helped him out with some workout, and I heard that, you know, he wasn't a big fan of leg day.
Oh yeah.
But you know, he worked with you and he got the work in. Yeah. So that's something that's the benefit of having a trainer. You know, is, you know, making sure that you got the right plan, and that one, that you're not overdoing it. Yeah. You know, so it was good to actually see that and kind of see you in action.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. I mean, it's that accountability, you know. Marcus, he probably been with me for probably 6 years, at least. Yeah.
So, well, yeah, you're doing it right if he keeps coming back.
Oh yeah, yeah. He's one of my favorite guys, man. He's a great dude.
What are 3 questions that you're frequently asked in the fitness space?
Nutrition, how to lose weight, how to put on muscle. I would say.
Okay, so let's take those one at a time then, and if you have a quick suggestion.
Okay. Nutrition, I would say, just like with working out, baby steps. You know, if you're somebody who eats once or twice a day, your goal, let's say if you eat twice, I would give you a goal to try to start eating 3 times a day. Or if you're somebody that doesn't eat breakfast, I want you to start eating breakfast. And it may be just that you get up and have a little fruit. Just don't try to go in, or we're going to start eating 10 eggs in the morning and oatmeal, and then I'm not going to tell you to do what I do. Especially if you're a beginner. But you really, whatever you weigh, you want to try to get a gram per pound, you know, of muscle, of a gram of protein per pound, or close to it. And that's the main thing I would focus on, is getting the protein, because if you do get the protein in and you're eating the animal meats, it's more satiating. It's gonna make you more full. So focus on that first, and then you can have some carbs. You can have some rice or potato, sweet potato, or like if you have your breakfast in the morning, eggs and some grits or oatmeal, or a banana, or whatever. Or if you don't want to fool with all that, you just have your little protein shake. Just keep it simple. And you're either going to cook your food, or you're going to, you got all these meal prep services now, so you got to make sure your food's going to taste good. It's not like you don't want to be suffering, because you're just not going to get very far with that, because you're just going to say, forget it, it's too hard. So just keep it simple with the nutrition. And then, people ask about losing weight. Most of that's going to be nutrition. It's going to be, but people need to educate themselves somewhat on nutrition, because a lot of people just want to starve themselves, and that's not the answer. You want to get in the gym, you want to start trying to build muscle. Well, to build muscle, you got to eat enough calories, you got to have enough protein to build the muscle. You come in here, you lift the weights, you kind of tear the muscle and break it down. Well, you got to have the nutrition, the food, the shakes, to help repair and build the muscle. And, so that's going to be your biggest thing on as far as losing the weight. And then of course, you put your cardio in along with that. And then, like, as far as building muscle, I mean, it really all kind of goes back to nutrition. You can go in the gym and lift weights all day, but if you don't eat enough calories, if you don't eat enough protein, you're not going to build very much muscle. And so with that, especially if you're like a hard gainer, you got to get your protein high, but you got to have your carbs high enough as well. You got to have the glycogen to be able to train, and the fullness and the muscle, and you got to have some fats in there. So, but I guess just to kind of don't overcomplicate things. I don't believe in these fad diets. You need your proteins, your carbs, and your fats. Now, I'm not telling you that you can't try to do like a carnivore or whatever and just eat all meat. That works for some people, but I just think it's more sustainable to just have a well-rounded diet. Again, some people, it works for them where they can just do the meat, and then on the weekends they'll have a little bit of a cheat. But you got to be disciplined.
Right.
2
things that I'll wrap up with is there anything that I did not bring up that you would like to either bring up and share any information on the question I didn't ask you that you wanted to share? Or?
I guess one thing that just comes to mind is that I want people to know that, and a lot of people around here locally, they know that this is kind of a more hardcore gym, and no. I mean, look, this is kind of my vision of this gym, is to have a gym where you can train as hard as you want to train if you're a bodybuilder or you're a power lifter. We got a lot of equipment, and as I get some of these other things finished, I want to come in and replace some pieces, get some better pieces. So I want it to be the best gym in town as far as you can really come and train hard, and we got plenty of equipment to do whatever you want to do. But I also understand that most people just want to be in better shape, you know. So I want this gym to be welcoming to everybody, not just because it's a big place. It's a 15,000 square foot place. So and that's a lot of what we're doing. We're working on the bathrooms, working on even the entrance where you come in, the paint, the look of the gym, where it's a better experience. Because we all like to look around and see things that are pleasing, to us visually. And I just feel like that puts you in a better state of mind when you go to train. I want, there's not as many women, but I want to welcome more women in as well. I want it to be a gym where everybody can come train, and we're truly not judgmental against anybody, whether you're a bodybuilder, powerlifter, or you're just, your everyday person that just wants to lose a little weight, or, you want to put a little muscle on, so.
All right.
Yep.
Well, that was great. Chase, I really appreciate your time and letting us come into your gym and to share the gym with everybody here.
I appreciate you, man. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.